Cool. So school starts Wednesday. Are you excited about that?
Yes.
Yes. You'll be in third grade.
Yes.
Yes. And you'll be seeing your friends that you haven't seen for a while. Right?
Yes.
Okay. Well, good. I'm anxious for you. And I'm anxious to hear about your first day. Okay, so you were gonna read to me today, right?
Yes. I'm going to read Peter Pan.
Peter Pan?
Yes.
Okay, did you practice?
And this is also my new book,
Uh,
classical story.
yeah, classic stories for children. Okay, did you practice?
I read the story for many times because I had a separate book for it.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right, well, go ahead whenever you're ready.
Okay, I had one name that I didn't know that anything because it's not there.
Okay.
A-R-L-I-N-G-S.
All right, start over and spell it again because I think I messed up. Start over.
E-A.
It starts with E? E?
No, it's D.
D.
Yes.
D-R.
No, D-A-R.
Okay, I'll get it. D-A-R.
L-L-L.
L. D-A-R-L.
I-N.
I-N.
G. S.
S. Okay, that's darlings. Darling. Can you say that? Darlings.
Darlings.
Yeah. Darlings. Darlings. Okay.
Darlings.
Yes, that's it.
The Darlings were a happy family living in London and had 3 lovely children. Wenley, John, and Mackens. One night, Miss Darling sat with the children as they slept. She was suddenly awakened and looking around. She saw a strange boy in the room. "Who are you?" she screamed. The boy leaped out of the window, leaving his shadow behind. The next evening, Miss and Mr. Darling went out. After the children were asleep, the strange incude written his name was Peter Pan. He was. Can you tell me the spelling? This is a big spelling.
Okay.
A C double
E.
C. No, C double C.
Oh, C-C.
O-M.
O-M.
P-A.
P-A.
N-I.
N-I.
E-D.
E-D. Accompanied. Accompanied. That means somebody, that means to go with someone. You accompanied your mother to the store. You went with her. So, all right, we'll have to listen to how it's used in the sentence to make sure we understand the meaning. So go ahead.
He was accompanied by the twinkle bell, a fairy who appeared as a ball of the light. Peter found his shadow, but in the exclaim, exclaim, can you tell me this, because this book is so interesting and so hard to read.
Okay, go ahead.
E
E
X
X
C
C
I
I
T
T
E
E
M
M
E
E
N
N
T.
T. Excitement. Excitement.
Excitement. Shadow, but he, but in his excitement, he shut the twinkle bell in one of the drawers as Peter tried to get Shadow to stick to him again. Wendy, daughter of the household, awakened. Hey, who are you? Asked Wendy. I am Peter Pan. I am Peter Pan from Neverland. Peter told Wendy that he had run away from home and lived with the fairies. Now, so that he would never have to grow up. Suddenly, Peter remembered Tingle Bell, and he looked for her until he found her. In one of the nurse's dress, she was very small. She was so small, Wendy could hardly see her. Peter told me that he and Twinkly Bell lived near lost boys who had felt out of their baby cages and were never found again. He had came to Wendy's house to listen her mother to her mother tells stories. Peter asked Wendy to come with him to Neverland and also promised to teach the children to fly. After a little practice, they all flew out of the window. In Neverland, the Indians helped to protect the lost boys against a group of mean pale leads by a companion who wanted to capture Peter, as Peter was the one who had torn off Hook's arm and filled it to crocodiles. The crocodiles now followed Hook everywhere, waiting to eat the rest of him. As Wendy and her brother that she was a jailbird. Peter told her. Peter told the others that it was he who had brought Wenley to them. This is Wenley. She will take care of you, he told the lost boys. They asked her to be their mother. Wenley, quick, can you tell me the spelling?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
A
A
S
A S
S
S
U
U
M
M
E
E
D.
D. That word is assumed. Assumed. That means
Assumed.
that means you think that it's true. I mean, you already know that. It's something you already know. You assumed something.
She also knew she's their mother.
Yeah. She assumed that. She assumed that's what they wanted.
She assumed that during by telling them stories and putting them to bed. In the meantime, the pair planned to see Wendy, but Peter overheard them plotting and saved the children and Wendy. Wendy and her brothers decided to return home. The lost boys expected Wendy invitation to come live with her. Peter refused to go because he wanted to remind the little boys and have fun. The prodigal slope of children journey, and they began to fly from Neverland. The prizes. See, can you tell me the spelling?
Uh-huh.
S
S
E
S what?
E
E
I
I
Z no
huh?
Z Z
D
not D Z
D as in dog.
no SEIJED.
G SEIG.
No, I don't know this letter in American's language. Means I will write it and show it.
Okay.
Okay. This one.
Oh, Z. Z.
I'm
S,
saying this and I understand.
okay. SEIZ.
E
E.
D.
Okay, so it's SEIZED.
Yes.
Okay, that's pronounced seized. Seized.
C.
So
C.
you take a hold of something forcefully, and
Means I taken some apple from this basket.
yeah, you seized an apple from the basket. Okay, so read that sentence again so you understand the meaning of seized. Who seized what?
Seized Neverland, impractical seized them. When Peter found out Hook and computed all his strength, he vowed to get revenge. Captain Hook bewildered the bright ship. The children were beginning to prepare to rock the plank. While Wendley was tired to mass, Peter secretly came on the boat and, by using tricks and false voice to lead the paddlers to their death. Seeing his men dead, who threw himself aboard into the waiting jaws of the fatal crocodiles. Meanwhile, Miss Darling and Na, their nurse, waiting for the children to return. They had left the nurse's window open for them. Just then, Wendy and her brothers flew and slipped into their beds, safe and sound. The darling apart the lost boys. Peter asked Wendy to fly away with him, but she refused. She wanted each of the airplane was out for him. But each time we meet, she saw him in a little less clear. Peter watched her sadly as she grew from a little girl to a young woman. He played his pipe softly. Can you tell me the spelling? P
P
E
E
R
E-E-R
H-A
H-A
P
P-S.
S.
That's perhaps. Perhaps.
Perhaps.
Perhaps. Yes.
Too softly to awake humans in a grow up world. And today you're going to read the lesson of the book.
Okay. So that that was a fun little story. So Peter Pan was a lost boy who'd never wanted to grow up, right? Is that right?
Yes.
Yes. And so he wanted Wendy to be the same, but Wendy grew up. Is that right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
One thing, because you see, I love this 3 little books.
Okay.
The Bible story book.
Yes.
I got fairy tales book.
Oh, nice.
And I got classic stories book.
Classic stories for children. Though those are all good books. You'll have fun reading those.
Yes, and those are the same company books.
Same company. All right. Well, are you ready to hear more about Buck in the Call of the Wolf? Okay. So if you remember the last time we read, the Tenderfeet had nearly killed their dogs by running them too much. And Buck was just too worn out to get up. And Hal was whipping and whipping and whipping him, and he couldn't get up. And John Thornton stepped in and stopped the whipping. And Hal and Charlie and Mercedes hooked up the dogs that were left. I think there were only maybe 4. I can't remember, 4 or 5 dogs left. Hooked them up to the
5 dogs.
5. Okay, hooked them up. He hooked them up to the sled, and they went on down the trail. And the trail was the river, but there was still it was early spring and there was ice on the river, but the ice was too weak to hold them. And so they broke through the ice and they all died, all of them. And the sled.
Oh, show me the after the class. Can you show me the dragonfly that you showed me last time?
The dragonfly?
Yes, you
Okay.
show me the little toy.
Yeah, okay, sure. Sure, I will.
To the class.
All right, so now the team and the tenderfeet and all of the dogs they're gone. And Buck was left alone with this man called John Thornton. So that's where we pick up the story. When John Thornton's feet froze last December, his partners made sure he was comfortable before they left to get a raft in Dawson. A raft. Do you know what a raft is?
No.
A raft is just a bunch of logs that are strapped together that float on the water. It's just a flat floating like a boat, only it's not in the shape of a boat. Okay, so they went back to Dawson to get this raft. He was still limping slightly at the time he rescued Buck. Together, man and dog lay by the riverbank through the long spring days, watching the running water, listening to the songs of birds and the hum of nature. John Thornton improved and Buck slowly won back his strength. Buck now could be lazy. All his wounds healed and his muscles came back to cover his bones. John Thornton's two dogs, Skeet and Night, that was the name of John Thornton's dogs, Skeet and Night, befriended Buck. That means they became Buck's friends.
First name of the dog is Skeet.
Skeet, Skeet, Skeet
And Night.
And Night. Skeet was a little Irish setter who washed and cleansed Buck's wounds. How would a dog clean another dog's wounds, the places where he was cut?
Means the ski means the S is also started with sky, and night is also about the sky, and that's why he got the name sea and sky. No, night.
Well, Skeet and Night were two dogs that belonged to this John Thornton. They were already there, but they were good dogs, and they didn't fight with Buck. But Skeet, it says Skeet cleaned and washed Buck's wounds. A wound is a place where you're cut. So how would a dog wash another dog's cuts? By licking. They just lick, 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 lick. Yeah, that's how a dog would wash another dog's wounds. Night was a huge black dog, half bloodhound and half deerhound, with eyes that laughed with a good nature. To Buck's surprise, these dogs showed no jealousy toward him. They seemed to share the kind nature of John Thornton. As Buck grew stronger, they coaxed him into all sorts of ridiculous games, with John Thornton joining in. Coaxed means to encourage over and over, try to get you to do something. So they coaxed Buck into joining their games. Buck romped through this time of healing and discovered a new feeling: love, real love, for the first time. He had never really felt this before, not even for Judge Miller. But now Buck came to love and adore John Thornton. This man had saved his life. More than this, he was the ideal master, Other men had fed him and taken care of his needs, but John Thornton took care of his dogs as if they were his own children, because he truly cared. He never forgot to give a kind greeting or a cheering word. To sit down for a long talk with them was as much his delight as theirs. Okay.
There are two friendly dogs. One dog is standing another dog.
Yeah. There's actually 3 dogs there. Can you see 3?
Yes, one is two black and two are in green color.
Right. Okay. This man, okay, read that. Next page. He had a way of taking Buck's head roughly between his hands and resting his own head upon Buck's, playfully shaking him back and forth. He growled names at him and cursed him lovingly. "You mean old rascal," Thornton would say, and Buck found joy in this playful embrace. And when the man released him, Buck sprang to his feet with his mouth and eyes laughing. John Thornton would exclaim, "Buck, you can all but speak."
Buck face is so angry.
Well, he's not angry, but this is how John Thornton and Buck kind of played together. Buck expressed his love to this man in his own way. He would often take a hold of Thornton's hand in his mouth and hold tight, biting hard enough to leave marks. Yet the man understood, wrestling the dog with spirit and joy. Most of the time, however, Buck was content to adore from a distance. He went wild with happiness when Thornton touched him or spoke to him, but he did not seek his attention. Skeet liked to shove her nose under Thornton's hand and nudge until she was petted. Knight would often walk up and rest his great head on Thornton's knee, but Buck was happy just to lie at Thornton's feet for hours, looking up into his face. He studied the man's expressions and movements, and often John Thornton would sense Buck's gaze and would turn to gaze back at the dog. Without speech, his heart shining out of his eyes as Buck's heart shone out too. For a long time after his rescue, Buck did not want Thornton to be out of his sight. From the moment he left the tent to when he entered it again, Buck would follow at his heels. He was afraid that Thornton would pass out of his life as Perrault and Francois and the mail carriers had passed out. Even in the night, in his dreams, he was haunted by this fear. At such times, he would creep through the chilly air to the flap of the tent, where he would stand and listen to the sound of his master's breathing. But in spite of this great love for John Thornton, Buck's primitive nature remained strong within him. He was faithful and devoted to this man who had saved his life, but he could never be tamed again. The cruelty of other men and months on the trail had changed him forever. Deep inside, he was a thing of the wild, come in from the wild to sit by John Thornton's fire. Because of his very great love, he could not steal from this man, but from any other man in any other camp. He did not hesitate to steal. His keen intelligence and primitive instincts were strong. His face and body were marked by the teeth of many dogs, and he still fought as fiercely as ever. So he would kind of just watch from way far away. But he really started to love this man, John Thornton, because John Thornton was so kind and loving to him. And this was the first
going to night.
Yeah. Skeet and Knight were too good-natured for quarreling. Besides, they belonged to John Thornton. But any strange dog, no matter what the breed, swiftly gave in to Buck. He had learned well the law of club and fang, and he never showed mercy to any other dog. He had learned well from Spitz, show no weakness and fight to the end. The strongest dog who showed no fear would rule. Buck knew this all too well. Deep in the forest and deep within him, a call was sounding. Even as he lay by John Thornton's warm, safe fire, he heard this call. Then he would turn his back upon the fire and plunge into the forest. He would run on and on, though he knew not where or why. He did not wonder where or why. So strong was the call. But each time the love for John Thornton drew him back to the fire again. Thornton was the only man Buck could love. Sometimes travelers praised or petted Buck, but he would often get up and walk away. When Thornton's partners, Hans and Pete, arrived on the raft, Buck refused to notice them until he learned they were close friends with Thornton. And even then, along the entire raft trip to Dawson, he mostly ignored these other men. So now they're on the river, and can you see that raft?
Yes.
It's just a bunch of logs that are strapped together, and the wood will float on water. So it was floating down the river.
There's one lesson completed, you read?
Huh?
There is one lesson completed. Now you read?
Almost.
Is it the second lesson?
I'm just about done with this one. For Thornton, however, his love seemed to grow and grow. He, alone among men, could put a pack upon Buck's back for the summer traveling. Nothing was too great for Buck to do when Thornton commanded. It's uncanny how Thornton and that dog seemed to speak to each other. Pete noted this one day. By jingo, you are right, Hans answered. Dat dog, him do anything for dat man. I hope no man ever get in the way between them. Okay, well, we ran out of time, so I think I'll just read one chapter today. And tomorrow we'll read, or not tomorrow, but Wednesday we'll read the sled pull. So John Thornton gets Buck into a competition where he has to pull a sled. And he does it, and we'll see if he's able to do it.
Yes, because back some years and months back, we got the sleds.
Yes. Yeah, he's been pulling sleds for a long time. And now he's recovered from that hard work and all the fighting, all the terrible things that he's been through. So he's with John Thornton right now. And
Judge Miller was dead?
No, Judge Miller's not dead. He's just still back in his house, but Buck doesn't know how to get there, or it's a long way away in California. So Buck was kidnapped and taken away, and he'll never see Judge Miller again.
He was also forgotten Judge Miller's face.
Yeah. I'm not sure what you said. What did you say?
Buck is also forgotten about Richard Muller's face.
Well, no, he still remembers him, but he doesn't know back to him. He's just too many miles away. There's no way he could find his way back. Plus, his life is all different now. He's changed. Being in the situation he was in has changed him forever. He'll never be the same. He loves this man, John Thornton, but remember, he has this instinct to be wild again, to become a wild dog. So we'll see if he answers that call and goes back to the wild dogs or if he stays with John Thornton. We'll see what happens. We're just about done with the book.
And you said you'll show me the dragonfly.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Hang on. This one, and he'll balance on my finger.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, little titty eyes.
Can you see his eyes?
Little, and the eyes are so little than an ant.
Yeah. That's my
Decided-
dragon.
Dragonfly. And I decided to make a craft tomorrow because I love crafts a lot.
Yeah. Well, if you ever come to the United States and we get to meet, I'll give you one. I'll give you one of these. Okay? You'll have to remind me because I'll probably forget. But if we ever get to meet in the United States, when you come for a visit someday, I'll give you one of these dragonflies. Okay?
It will balance on anything?
Huh?
It will balance on anything?
Well, almost anything. I'm like, here's a pen.
It was going round.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yep.
Now I'm scared of dragonflies. One day, by mistake, I stamped on it. I scared and I ran away.
Well, you wouldn't be scared of this one.
Yes.
This is a friendly one. Think of a name. Think of a name we could give this one. I haven't named him.
What name is it?
I don't know. I don't have a name. So what should we call him?
Call him Christiana.
Christiana?
Yes, and it was also covered with crystals.
Christy.
Yes.
Christy?
Yes. And also decorated with small crystals. That's why I named him Crystal.
Ah, yeah. He has little sparkly.
Yes.
But that's a girl name, so this must be a girl.
Yeah.
Christy. All right. Well, I would spell that Christy. 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 All right. Well, listen, we're out of time, so we're going to say goodbye for today. And we'll meet again on Wednesday, okay?
Okay.
All right. Now, that's the day you're going to start back to school, so I want you to tell me all about your first day in school next time. Okay. You have a good evening. Enjoy your dinner. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.